This meeting, bill number 2012-27. Councilman Barlow, do you wish to have the bill read?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Your Honor. Bill number 2012-27, an ordinance to authorize the reestablishment of certain types of non-conforming uses under specified circumstances and to provide for other related matters. Your Honor, before we begin, background on this, and then I'll turn it over to Mr. Brown, and he can correct anything that I say on the record. Council is probably aware, and I provided you backup documentation when this bill was introduced. In 2000...
Excuse me one second. Can you, there's something wrong with the mics. Can you speak more loudly?
Okay. Is this better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
In the mid-2000s, the federal government indicted several owners of the owner of the Crazy Horse, several principals, and the company, Power Company, Inc., on a number of charges. Those individuals pled guilty, and afterwards they faced the City Council on disciplinary charges regarding their privileged liquor license. That license was revoked at a hearing in 2006, and then there were 2 temporary licenses issued for the establishment that kept it going until June 30th, 2007. The Crazy Horse 2 was a non-conforming use at the time the license was revoked, which means under city laws, you had to make beneficial use of the license within a certain period of time or it would go away forever. At that point in time, our law said you had to make beneficial use within 6 months or you would lose it. During that 6-month period, the federal government did not make beneficial use of the license, and the license was extinguished. This council passed an ordinance to lengthen that period of time, so 6 months to 1 year, resuscitating the license, thus giving the government essentially another 6 months to try and sell the establishment while it was still able to be a tavern. Nevertheless, a liquor license did not issue. No beneficial use was made, the establishment was shut, and as a result of the laws was written at the time, the establishment ceased to be a tavern and could never be a tavern because it was a non-conforming use. Last year, your predecessor, Your Honor, received an offer from individuals who had purchased the Crazy Horse 2 from the federal government that they would be interested in seeing if it was possible to change the law to have the license resuscitated again. And what they would like to do is donate to the city an amount of money equivalent to the fine imposed on the former owner of the Crazy Horse, Mr. Rislow. That fine imposed by the council was $2,100,000. There was some litigation over whether that was the correct amount, and the Nevada Supreme Court determined that that amount would be $1,461,000. That is the amount that is being offered to be donated if the council were to find a way to resuscitate the license. Bill 2012-27 is a bill that would accomplish that. What it does is it addresses non-conforming uses whose use ceased as a result of governmental action and would allow those uses, if that were the case, they'd have 1 year from the date this ordinance passes to come and get a license and make beneficial use of it, after which it would be extinguished again. That's essentially what the ordinance does. I think that's exactly what we're here for. I need to let you know that what's on the agenda today is the ordinance, and there should be a lot of discussion about that. Because there is going to be this donation associated with this ordinance, it's natural you're going to have a discussion about that. We have a separate city policy that deals with donations. Donations up to $50,000 can be accepted by the city manager, but over $50,000 have to be accepted by the council. We do not have an agenda item on today to accept a donation. We will have an agenda item on July 18th. I believe that Mr. Brown is going to address that and tell you how they plan to pay the city if that's exactly what you want to do. But today's agenda item is on the ordinance, and I think it's appropriate to discuss something regarding the fine.
Okay, so if I may repeat that and be clear. Today is about the ordinance and the funds that may or are going to be contributed to the general fund for the city cannot be taken up today because it's not agendized, and it will have to go then on the July 18th agenda.
Correct. You cannot vote on taking the donation today.
Okay, but on the ordinance itself, on the club or the building, we can.
You can.
We can. Thank you.
I'll be glad to answer any questions, and Mr. Brown, I'm sure, has something to say as well.
Thank you. Okay, who wants to go? Okay. Okay.
For the record, Jay Brown, 520 South 4th Street, representing Canico Capital Group, LLC. Its managing partner is here, Abraham Sal. is here, and of course, as you know, Mike Mushkin is representing, Canico
And
as
could
well.
I trouble you to spell Mr. Sal's name for us, please?
A-S-S-I-L.
Do that one more time, please.
A-S-S-I-L. Abraham Assel.
Thank you very much. Please continue.
Okay. Basically, as you know, this matter was on your recommending committee agenda. I believe Councilman Coffey made the recommendation for approval. It was a unanimous vote, and we just hope that you would approve that recommendation this afternoon. We'll answer any questions. As far as the dollars, I'll keep that brief. To show good faith, I had represented to Mayor and I think other members of the council, certainly Mr. Jerbick, that before coming forward, I would make sure that Canico had placed in Chicago title $1,461,000 to show good faith, so we would be wasting our time here today, and he has done that, and we'll handle the dollars however you see fit. But as far as we're concerned, upon approval of the ordinance, we've made that commitment to make that donation.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mushkin. Here to answer questions only.
Answer questions if they have any.
Okay, Councilman Beers.
Thanks, Mayor. Mr. Brown, you had told me in a conversation that you and I had about how this license came to be expired. And our initial information, I think staff didn't understand all the background of what other people were doing. From our perspective, we laid out a clear path for the custodians of this license, which was the federal, I guess, the Justice Department, to not, or a clear path to retain this license, and hence some value that presumably could be sold to the benefit of the creditors. And the government, the federal government, didn't take those steps. But you told me another explanation that was a little more detailed, something about another case somewhere else.
I speculated, if you want, I'll speculate here as to why they may have done that, but just what you said and what City Attorney Brad Jerbick said is 100% accurate. They passed on the opportunity, and I don't know that anybody knows the real reason, because we were sharing a cup of coffee. Right. I speculated, and if you want me to, I'll speculate.
No, that's fine. That's fine. There have been some other analogous cases out there. I think you listed a couple of other situations where the government had taken on adult-oriented businesses and hadn't done well.
I think at the recommending committee, Mr. Mushkin may have alluded to, I think the Mustang Ranch might have been one that I think he might have been talking about, and I see Mr. Jerbick is shaking his head. The one I was talking about was a card club in California that I told you about. It was a gaming establishment, and they had a problem during that. They were operating it because the owners did not pay their taxes, as I understand it, and they ran it into the ground, as I understand it, and the owners brought a lawsuit against, I believe it was the IRS, and they got the judgment in excess, I think, of $25 million. And I think that's my educated guess why they didn't do it this time, because they made a policy. It hasn't worked out, but that's just a guess. They certainly were given every opportunity by this council, okay, to go ahead and keep that license, and they chose, for whatever reason, not to.
Questions, comments for council? Okay. Excuse me, Councilman Coffin.
Thank you, Your Honor. Yeah, I made the motion yesterday to approve, to advance this bill to the committee. On April 16th, I met with Mr. Brown, and we talked about this, and I thought that it was so unusual that I had to have another sip of coffee before I digested it. It made sense, though, in essence, to bring it back, if in fact we could. And the complexity of the ordinance was such that it would require me, and I immediately talked to the city attorney shortly after to see if this ordinance can be done, because it is so specific to a piece of land that it's pretty well ironed down that no other piece of land in this county could, or maybe anywhere, could fit this description. So that certainly prevents any other piece of real estate, to the best of our knowledge anyway, from cropping up suddenly with the ability to put a strip club in. No telling of where that might be. So yesterday, discussion of money occurred. And by the way, I should say that's when I first heard that an offer would be made to the city for a donation of an amount which would be equal to the fine that had been levied by the city a few years ago. I didn't know that the previous mayor already